Hey guys, in this video, we're gonna share one of my favorite YouTube series, and that's Millennial Money. Millennial Money is a really good example of how millennials live each day, how they budget, and basically the goals they have in life. But what I really wanna take away from this video with you all is to show how even if someone has a modest career or a modest salary, how if they budget, they plan, and they have good financial skills, how they can achieve really big things. So for this example, we're gonna use Lani, who's a teacher in Dallas. She's making $58,000 per year. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch the video together, react, but most importantly, at the end, we're gonna show how if Lani keeps doing these things that she's doing financially and keeps achieving her goals, how far she'll get in the future. And it's a really good example how even if you have a modest salary or a modest income, the math shows that you can become a millionaire pretty easily. So I really wanna bring this example to you guys. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get this YouTube video rolling, and then we're gonna react to it together.
I think that teachers have had
So let's get started.
a bad rep in the United States, and especially working for public schools in terms of like low salaries and other negative, bad conditions. But I think that it's totally possible to be a professional teacher and to live a comfortable life on a teacher's salary here in Texas.
Let's just pause for 1 second. This is one of my favorite things about the video is it shows like even if you're a teacher, even if you're not making $500,000 per year, if you have a budget, you make smart financial decisions and you keep learning, you're gonna be in a really good spot financially. So that's what I love so much about this video is it really kind of dispels the myth she was just talking about. So I don't wanna ruin too much, but let's keep going.
I'm Lani Huang. I'm 25 years old. I make $58,400 a year, and I live in Dallas, Texas. I'm a middle school math teacher. When I was working in Oklahoma, my starting salary was one of the lowest starting salaries for teachers in the nation. I actually participated in the Oklahoma teacher walkout. The starting salary back then, I believe, was like $32,400 or $900. And so moving to Texas, it was definitely like a $10,000, $15,000 salary increase with the same amount of experience. So I'm very
Here's what I love about like that example. So I think it's a really good principle that if you're kind of in a career in a part of the country that doesn't pay too well, you can always take your future in your own, or your destiny in your own hands. So I think what I really like about what Lani did is she, spoke out with her voice and did the teacher march. But then what she also did is she said, maybe if I just move to another state or another part of the country and pursue something a little bit better, maybe that'll set me up financially. So what I love about this example is it does show that our financial future is in our own hands. We can choose to move, we can choose to try a new field, take a new job. There's a lot of control you have over your financial destiny, and I really like this example because it begins to show that. Let's keep going.
very satisfied with my current salary. Growing up in Thailand and then coming to the States, there's a different standard of living, but there's also the expectation as like a second generation immigrant for me that I have to do better than my mom. And so there was that pressure of always like achieving, along with like the Asian culture of the high expectations of, being a doctor, a lawyer, a pharmacist. So I think that my mom, through all of her sayings and
let's quickly pause here. One thing I love about like looking at someone's budget and projecting out in the future is you can show what big goals you achieve in the future. So definitely like have empathy for what she's describing, and it sounds like her mom's been a really positive influence, but maybe they would have liked if she had maybe a more prestigious career. But what's really awesome about the skills that Lani has is like you can see through the math that she's actually gonna end up in a really good spot financially. So I think this is a really key part about kind of like bridging those two things from a numbers perspective. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fast forward to the budget now, and we're gonna kind of like walk through and start showing like her budget, the good skills she has, and then how that's gonna project out in the future.
My mindset towards saving is that everything that I'm putting into my savings, that's money I don't have anymore.
That's a good piece of advice as well. Everything you put in your savings is money that you don't have anymore. It's basically saving for that rainy day fund. So since she had a good savings balance, she was able to cover the 1 month expense that she had pop up. So looking at this budget, the one thing that pops out is that $1,800 wisdom teeth removal. So I don't think we're gonna plan to have that every month. So for our example, what we're gonna do is kind of ignore that. And then what we're gonna start doing is looking at the other expenses and seeing what pops out here. So first, let's start with the biggest expense that almost all of us have, which is housing. So if you look, she has about $1,200 a month in housing bills, and that's actually a really good rate. She's also living with her boyfriend, who's covering about $450 of that. So she's paying around, just for herself, $800 a month to live in a home and also own a home, which is really fantastic. That's a really good financial decision, and that low rent compared to her income, or that low cost, is really solid. So looking through the rest of these things, there's nothing really that pops out. Her transportation cost is super reasonable. The food costs for both eating out and having groceries is really reasonable. So you can tell that this girl like puts a lot of attention into what she's spending and is still able to enjoy things, right? Like she still eats out, she's still doing some fun stuff, which is great. The other thing that pops out that I just want to double click into is she has about $500 a month in miscellaneous costs, which is probably anywhere between 10 to 15% of her budget. So whenever you have something that's around 10 to 15% of your budget that's considered other, I always just want to double click in that to a little bit, because you can start to uncover maybe some opportunities of, like, let's say canceling a subscription account or maybe buying some more reasonable cat food. I don't know, but that's just one thing I'd like to kind of improve a little bit, is just understand what that is, because there may be some opportunity. Let's now talk about the most important part of this video, which is like, now we have an idea of how much money Lani is making. We have an idea of her budget. Now let's go ahead and show Lani how much money she'll have in the future if she just keeps doing the simple things she's doing every day. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna transition over to a graph that basically shows how we can project out how quickly Lani becomes a millionaire or achieves really big financial goals for her life. Right before we jump in, it makes a huge difference for the YouTube algorithm, so please like or subscribe or even comment. It makes a really big difference. Excellent. So to basically estimate the big financial goals that Lani will accomplish in her life, there's 3 basic things we need to know. First, cash flow. Simply, how much money are you saving each month? And for this example, Lani's saving about $1,200 a month, so that's really good. The second piece is your asset and debts. This is simply how much money do you have and how much money do you own. So for Lani, she has about $27,000 in stocks and savings and a $155,000 home, along with around $145,000 in mortgage debt. So her total net worth is about $37,000. And what we're going to show you is, once you know how much money you have, how much money you're saving, and how your income and assets will grow over time, you can really easily estimate big financial milestones in your life. And what's awesome about this example is we're going to show how if Lani keeps doing exactly what she's doing, she's going to have a big financial milestone in her life and she'll become a multi-millionaire. So what we're going to do on the next example is we're going to project these out in the future and show you over the next 50 years of her life what big financial milestones she's able to accomplish just by being frugal, saving money, and continuing to kill what she's doing. I love this graph because it shows how if Lani is able to continue making the great decisions she's making, what happens in the future. So just by understanding those 3 things we just talked about, we're able to project out the big financial milestones that Lani accomplishes in her life. So you can see by the time she turns 40, if she keeps doing what she's doing, it's likely that she becomes a millionaire. And then in her late 40s to early 50s, she becomes a multi-millionaire. So it's really amazing how Lani's career and, like, let's say more modest salary can really add up to some really big financial milestones, and she can accomplish some really big things. So I think there's 3 key lessons that we can learn from Lani and that really show how you can do exactly what she's doing. The first thing is she's been making really good decisions and she values saving money. It's very clear from that example that she's made good decisions, she paid off all of her student debt, and she doesn't carry credit card debt. Those 3 things were huge in helping her accomplish her goal. The other thing is Lani was able to graduate with little to no debt, as I said earlier, and she paid it off as soon as possible, which is really good. And the final thing is what I like the most about this example is Lani picked to do something that she loves and that she was passionate about, and then she made the numbers work for them. It shows you don't have to become a lawyer or become a really high paid executive to become a millionaire or accomplish really big things. Lani's example says if you pursue something you love, make the numbers work for you, and make good financial decisions, you're going to be in a really healthy spot in your future. So that's everything that I hope you guys would take away from this video. Once again, please like or subscribe, and I'll bring a video to you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in.